From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
We are jumping to an email that was sent to us by someone we're going to lovingly refer to as Nada, as in Nada Sock Puppet. We're going to keep this person anonymous for reasons you will very soon understand. And this message comes to us in response to our episode we made on In-Q-Tel. You remember In-Q-Tel? It's the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency's venture capital arm. It's their VC Adventure Time place where they invest in technology, individuals, and companies that will allow them to have an edge on all of their adversaries, potential enemies, and friends. Or frenemies, as Ben, you like to call all others that are not the nation state with which you are operating. Okay.
Oh, no, you're right. I stand by that.
Exactly. I do too. Let's begin. It says, hey guys, I just listened to the latest cast and wow, it had my bells ringing. In-Q-Tel. Bing. Keyhole. Bing, bing, bing. I worked as an implementation architect for a company called Visual Sciences. It was bought in, I think, sometime 2009 by an analytics company called Omniture. And they rebranded the software as Insights. Now, if anyone else's bells are ringing by hearing those keywords, stick with us. That's Matt talking. Okay, let's go back to not a sock puppet. Visual Sciences, that's a capital V, capital S, was based in Herndon, Virginia, not far from Dulles Airport. It was basically an analytics engine on steroids. It could pivot to deal with any type of data as long as it had a data type, which you could create, and a timestamp. I used to call it, quote, digital Lego, because you could build it out of the box or with some smarts, make it do pretty much anything with data classification. Visual Sciences was part funded privately and co-funded by In-Q-Tel. Refer to articles attached for more detail, and there are 2 articles attached which we will get into.
And Nada, you continue by saying, without getting too far into the tech, you could ingest a huge amount of data quickly. Think eBay-sized data sets. They were a client. And then in that data you've loaded, get to a single record or group of records in a matter of seconds. This was done using its very flexible ingestion algorithms and the proprietary way it stored and retrieved data. Think no SQL instead of select blah, from, to, where, etc. Databases before they were a thing. It was a very flexible architecture, and the limitation was only the processing power and the I/O. If you chained enough servers together, it could expand out to in, by which you mean insert any number here. I built the largest civilian build for a British broadcasting company that is not the BBC, and that was about 22 servers. Think about how much computing that is. Pre-cloud, says Nada, this was unheard of.
Do you think that's Sky or Panorama? What do you think that is? No, BBC is Panorama. It's got to be Sky, right?
I mean, I would suspect. But so he says, what is so interesting about Visual Sciences? Think about a lot of data processed quickly and data retrieval down to a single record very quickly. Data such as web browsing behavior. Sure. And he's got a here. Phone calls, he says. So this makes it much more easy to track and collate people. You can see why In-Q-Tel would be into this, because Visual Sciences could group and create dimensions and display them graphically in tables, graphs, charts, whatever, and geolocations on maps.
Exactly what we were talking about. We kind of just briefly mentioned it, the whole Google Earth creation thing on that episode about In-Q-Tel. So we're getting some confirmation here. Not confirmation. We had confirmation. We're getting inner workings and details, right?
We got some backup. Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks for. Here comes the cavalry. The cavalry is Nada.
Oh, and my drawer just opened on its own. So, NSA, if you're into opening drawers remotely now, I see you.
Sounds more like a poltergeist situation there, Ben.
Poltergeist, NSA, what's the difference? Let's continue on.
Right. So we're seeing the pieces come together. Nada continues and says we could map and overlay data to locations with resolutions you could not believe. This is all before Google Maps could do this. And I think VS was possibly the first app to link with keyhole geolocation and imaging data before Google Earth. We used to joke in house that the maps were straight from the satellite, and we would get data refreshes often. When I would show the software to clients, we would get wows on the geo piece, and we get questions about where we got these map meshes. Don't forget, Nada adds, this stuff was not available to most people at this point in time. I would reply with some theater and say, the CIA, if people question this. And then we would mention In-Q-Tel. And it was actually a great selling point. We needed it because this software, Nada says, was eye-wateringly expensive. So, okay, you can see that it has nefarious applications, but was it used by the U.S. government? Dramatic pause. Yes, he says. I was there.
For 2 weeks, I would get in a car and drive with 2 colleagues to Fort Meade, Maryland. Guess the agency. We were not allowed any devices and would digitally disappear for a few hours. We would go into a room with whiteboards, etc. Several agency employees would do a round robin of asking us questions around configuration and sometimes specific questions on sorting algorithms. At no time were we allowed to see the software or the data, so these questions were all hypothetical. It was ridiculous. At one point, we asked for a laptop so we could load up code or expressions to help show them examples. To assist in answering the questions, we were never allowed to take the USB keys away with us. We had, I think, 5 meetings until the geeks at the agency, I love that, had enough data to run with, and we never got asked back, to my knowledge.
Then Not a Sock Puppet says, we had a few more gigs I heard about but didn't participate in. One guy I met for a beer after work had gone down to Quantico that day. Make of that what you will. That's the FBI's headquarters, by the way, just if you're not aware. And there's more here in this message, but we are not going to read this full thing. But I'm Not a Sock Puppet does sign off with giving us some information with the statement, this is to prove I'm not a sock puppet. That's why we called you that. So we can confirm anonymously that this is indeed not a sock puppet. So guys, there are these links that this person sent to us that I think are worth our time. It's really just backing up Visual Sciences, what it was, and that it was associated with In-Q-Tel and what it could do. Really cool stuff in here. Why don't we just let people know where they can read this stuff? Maybe that's one of the easiest ways for you to be armed with the information as well. On iqt.org, which is a website we mentioned on that In-Q-Tel episode, you can find an article, Visual Sciences announces strategic investment and licensing agreement with In-Q-Tel. It's from 2004. You can find it. There's another one from the Washington Post. It is titled In-Q-Tel, that's IN-Q-Tel, CIA's venture arm invests in secrets. And that is from August 15th, 2005. So you can read both of those articles.
Yeah. This is a legitimate, real story, and people affiliated with Visual Sciences and In-Q-Tel are on public record talking about how great they thought it was. This was a win-win for a lot of people, you know?
Yep. Oh, there's a lot of great quotes in this article. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go into all of it today, but read these articles on your own and you will see exactly what our listener, whoever you are, sent to us and was talking about.
Oh, can we do one quote, Matt? There's one quote I really like. Okay, so there's a guy named Buzzy, A.B. Krongard, who was the CIA's, at one time he was the CIA's number 3 official, and he was also a former investment banker, because like we said, once you get to the top of some structures, things inevitably intertwine.
Yeah.
I think it was Flannery O'Connor who said, all things that rise must converge, or something like that. Sorry, Flannery, I'm paraphrasing you. But here's a verbatim quote from Krongard about this relationship. On a scale from 1 to 10, he says, I would give it an 11, referring to In-Q-Tel. And then he adds, in like with just like a little hint of pettiness, he says, it's done so well that even Congress is taking credit for it.
That's right.
Okay, I see you, Buzzy.
I mean, that's Buzzy's a investment banker for the CIA.
You know what I mean?
Weird.
What a life he must live.